What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Emporium's Flashback Reviews, where I take movies from the past, break them down, and tell you what I think about them. If you like what you see, of course, hit the subscribe button. Join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch my channel. So, we're continuing our journey to No Time to Die, which is Daniel Craig's last film as James Bond, and we're heading to 1965 with Thunderball. This is the fourth film in 4 years for the James Bond franchise. And this movie was extremely successful. This brings back Terrence Young as the director for his last film in the James Bond universe. It's kind of sad to see. It also brings back Richard Maybaum as the writer and brings in John Hopkins as one of the writers, as a new writer in this franchise. This, of course, is the fourth film for Sean Connery, and this movie is a successful movie. This movie made a lot of money. It's actually one of the most successful films in history. And I was kind of looking into this movie, just kind of, a cool fun fact. So this movie made $65 million in 1966 for America, because that's when it released. I went into the inflation calculator and I was kind of curious, how much would this make today based off the ticket sales? And this movie was huge. It would have made $527 million today. So it made a lot of money for its time. But it brings in a really interesting story, a more grounded story. It's not the most exciting story, but I had a lot of fun with this movie. I really enjoyed it, and it kind of gives us a really cool inside look to S.P.E.C.T.R.E. I mean, S.P.E.C.T.R.E is a shadow organization in the James Bond universe. For better or worse, it's a very cool idea. And another really interesting fact is I think Thunderball is where the main inspiration for Austin Powers, the International Man of Mystery, came from, because their inner workings are basically very similar to what Austin Powers ended up taking, where we have a group of people. We have Blofeld with his cat, which is very Dr. Evil, was what it's known for. And then we have the numbering system. We have number 2, which is like the right-hand man almost to, Blofeld himself. And we have number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, blah, blah, blah. And one of the characters, now I think number 11 and number 9 are working together, and they're not doing as well as Blofeld likes. And so one of them gets electrocuted by pressing a button, which is really fascinating because that's very, very violent. This movie's really violent, like the Goldfinger was. And like I said, I kind of laughed because I'm like, oh, that's Austin Powers. We know kind of where he's getting his ideas from, where the, Jay Roach and the crew get their ideas from. But that doesn't, that's Austin Powers, so we're going to the Thunderball. But I just thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of funny. And Thunderball is, like I said, it's a story that apparently just takes, I think it takes forever to get going. Basically what happens is we have this character named Largos, who is a kind of an operative on a plane. He is based on a mission called Operation Thunderball, and we have this character who is basically, I don't know if it's like if you're watching Face Off or something like that, where we have this kind of guy who has basically molded his face to look like this character Darvos, and he is sent on basically to go on this mission, and they killed the actual Darvos. And we think that's going to be the main villain of this movie. We think he's going to be like the main central point. But then like 25-30 minutes into it, when the mission, he crash lands into the ocean so they can steal the nuclear weapons, because this is all about nuclear weapons in the black box. And then they kill Darvos, or the character who's playing Darvos. And yeah, I was like, oh, okay, so this movie's not going there. It's going to go somewhere else. And it leads into a character who is actually kind of the underlying villain of this movie, who is played by Adolfo, and that is a character named Largos, who is number 2. And basically, Largos is a typical villain. He is not that exciting, but he has a patch over his eye, which is really cool, like Robert Wagner. And he basically is tasked to basically deal a ransom deal with NATO and the UN and all those groups like the US and Britain. And he basically gives them an ultimatum where he's going to nuke a bunch of places, or unless they give them money. So, it's that type of situation. So what do? They send in James Bond. They send in Sean Connery to be the man who's going to stop Largos. And Sean Connery is Sean Connery. He is as good as it usually is as James Bond. He's, fantastic. He's debonair. He's suave. He attracts more women in this movie than, any human being should. It's amazing how quick and how fast these women turn and make love to him. So, it's kind of funny because it's throughout all of the James Bond movies, but just in general, it's like, they're like bam, bam, bam. They're like targets. They're throwing themselves at him. It's pretty crazy. And that's always a funny, weird thing, very misogynistic thing about the Bond movies, is how quickly these women turn and fall in love with them. But he basically goes to Nassau where he infiltrates, or at least attempts to infiltrate the whole Largo organization. He's trying to find out where the bombs are at. We get some really cool sequences with like sharks and stuff like that. Basically, Largos is a friend with sharks. He loves sharks. He feeds one of his operatives to sharks because he failed to kill Bond. And we also get another character named Volpe, who is played by Luciana Paluzzi, and she's one of the funner villains in this James Bond franchise. She's just evil, and she has a way of seducing James Bond and the people around her, and she's just good at what she does. But she meets James Bond, so she's not that good because she ends up dying. But I love the character itself. I think it's just a fun Spectre character. You know, she works with Largos, and she has a way of doing her thing. But I thought it was a fun character. But in the process, we have to have like the true James Bond girl, and that is played by Claudine Auger, who plays Domino, and Domino is the sister of Darvos, and she is kind of with Largos. I don't know. He says it's her uncle, but I don't know how the whole situation. But she's a very attractive female. You know, she is one of those people that kind of, you know, becomes attracted to Bond, and she has like intel, and she's very important. But her character arc is just it's not like the other Bond girls where it's just kind of stilted. You know, there's a point where they're in a situation where Bond and her are at this festival, and she like Bond finds out that his female counterpart who was helping him out has been killed or been kidnapped by Felix Leiter, and Felix Leiter is played by a completely different person in this movie, and he leaves her alone with Felix Leiter, and that's just a weird moment because it's like, so he's gonna leave Domino by herself and go do this thing, and then all of a sudden she's back with him in the movie near the end. It's really, really weird. But that's just kind of the weird moments of this movie. There's another thing where, and you notice this throughout the 60s and 70s, where when someone dies, when a main character dies or anybody dies, the characters don't really like relish on it. They just kind of move on to the next set piece or the new moment. And that's what is like really prevalent in these movies where, for instance, James Bond's cohort or, you know, personal assistant or whatever dies, and he sees her dying, he just moves on. So it's really weird. It's always kind of bugged me in these types of movies in the 60s and 70s. And it's, like I said, really prescient here. But yeah, so, you know, we have James Bond. He is infiltrating the Largos and his crew, and they find out who he is. And we get our typical set pieces. You know, we get the underwater set pieces, which is really cool. We get the fights on his boat, on Largos' boat. We get the love, we get the romance, we get the intrigue. And it's another Bond film. But I was really surprised by how much I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was really enjoyable. The only problem with this movie is it takes forever to get going. But it's a good time at the theater, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. And thankfully, the fact that this movie and the movies that have come before it, because they're so becoming so successful, they're getting this franchise getting bigger budgets, so they can do cooler and they can do bigger set pieces. We get the famous jetpack sequence at the very beginning of this movie. We get another Aston Martin in this movie. Desmond Llewelyn comes back as Q, and he has a much bigger part, and he's much more fun. And I love that they're kind of moving along these characters, giving them better character arcs and better character movement, character moments. Their, you know, progression is becoming more and more to what we see in the future movies. But that's what I truly kind of enjoy about this movie in general is, you know, we have those character moments, we have those character set pieces, and it becomes just a fun thing to watch. You know, watching, you know, Bernard Lee, who has been in all the movies like Sean Connery and Lois Maxwell, and they get bigger parts in this movie, and they get more of a central idea, because before you just kind of see them in the office, and, you know, Sean Connery has his little moment with Lois Maxwell's Miss Moneypenny. Here they're actually kind of involved with what's going on, and you kind of have conflict. You see Bernard Lee finally kind of, you know, stepping up and, you know, kind of protecting Bond and kind of, you know, backing him up, and that's kind of cool to watch because you don't see that in the earlier movies. But like I said, you know, when you're watching this movie, when you're just sitting there and you're enjoying it and you're having a good time watching it, like I said, Largos is no match to, you know, Goldfinger. But it's a really entertaining movie. It's a really fun movie. You know, John Barry, who does the score for most of these movies, it's a fantastic score. I don't think Thunderball, the main theme, is that good. I think it's actually very terrible. compared to like Goldfinger. But it's nice to see that they're finally, getting into their own with what themes and ideas, and they're actually using that concept for future movies. But I mean, other than that, there's not really much else to talk about. There are sharks in this movie, like I said, when they can eat people. It's a very beautiful movie. There's some really nice looking shots with NASA and stuff like that. The women are extremely beautiful in this movie, and it's very James Bond of the 1960s. The fact that we're moving closer and closer to what's the 1970s is starting to become prevalent, and the ideas behind that. And yeah, we're getting close to the end of the era for Sean Connery. His next film, You Only Live Twice, is his last film before he leaves for a movie and then comes back. But yeah, this is between Goldfinger and Thunderball. This really starting to cement who Sean Connery is as James Bond. This is why he is considered one of the greats in James Bond. Because his feel and his movement and his arc is really, really fascinating. And his just suaveness and just his nature of how he is attentive to people is it's really, really cool to watch. And I'm really kind of excited to see You Only Live Twice, which is another movie I haven't seen before. But yeah, so that'll do it. That's my take on Thunderball. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Thunderball. Do you like it as much as I do? Do you not like it? So on and so forth. But subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch my channel. But otherwise, we'll see you on You Only Live Twice. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.